So this video is 5-2 order of operations. We're going to learn the order to do the operations in. And I know we've already learned this before, but now it's going to get more complex because we're going to get you ready for doing it in algebra. So please turn to page 3 where your vocabulary was and scroll down to the bottom. You're going to fill in some notes on the bottom of that page. So here we have GEMDAS, and you already know what those stands for. We've got G for grouping symbols, E for exponents, multiplication and division are going to go together, and those are from left to right, so please write that in as well. And addition and subtraction are partners, and those also go from left to right. Please take note of all of these extra grouping symbols you're going to see in your homework tonight or today when you do it. So these are braces. Please go ahead and label those. We've got brackets and we've got parentheses. Basically, all of those are still just parentheses. They're just different ways of showing them because you might have multiple sets of parentheses in the same expression. Or grouping symbols can also be absolute value. And remember, that is not just a set of parentheses, although it does go first in the order of operations. So we always do all of these things first, but absolute value makes it positive. So exponents, you're going to see a lot of those. Remember, exponents mean if you have something squared, then that's going to mean that you multiply it by itself. Or if something's cubed, then you multiply it by itself another time, 3 times. So for example, 2 squared would just be 2 times 2, which is the easy one. But if you had a negative number, you would have to rewrite that a couple times. So if it were negative 2 quantity squared, we'd do negative 2 times negative 2. So you just have to pay attention with those to exactly what's being squared. All right, let's get that out of the way because it's kind of confusing with the parentheses. All right, multiplication and division comes after exponents, so exponents is number 2, and these, remember, it's whatever comes first from left to right. So if it were 50 divided by 5 times 2, then you don't multiply first, you actually divide first and get 10, and then multiply by 2. That is a different answer than if you didn't go from left to right. So please be careful and make sure that you pay attention to this left to right. And addition and subtraction is fourth, whichever comes first from left to right. I'm going to show you a couple of graphics. If you want to draw these pictures on your paper, you could. This one in particular is a little dark. I apologize for that, but I found it on the internet as just an easier way to remember that grouping symbols, those are going to come first, so it's the top block, and then exponents, anything with exponents or powers or roots, that's going to come next. And see where we talked about multiplication and division, they're on the same level. So it's whichever comes first from left to right, and same with addition and subtraction. So if you want to write it like this, that might help you remember that multiplication and division come at the same time, and addition and subtraction come at the same time. And sometimes you might have subtraction first, and sometimes you might have addition first. It's whatever comes from left to right. All right, looking down here, this is another way to look at the same thing. We've got G for grouping symbols. We've got E for exponents, and it looks like a little exponent right there, that E. And then multiplication and division, those are both there from left to right, and addition and subtraction from left to right. So you don't have to write these down, or you can. They can be helpful. Just remember the rules. You have to go in order, otherwise you'll get a totally different answer. Looking at the homework, this is 5-2, or the assignment. You need to first make sure that you remember GEMDAS here. So I'm going to write it like this, just so you remember these are from left to right. Okay, if we look at number 1, the first thing you might want to do is look at the numbers individually and look for the sign. So we've got subtraction, we've got multiplication and division. When we see a subtraction sign, we may want to do stay, change, change right away too. So let's see, we've got 5 times 4 is 20. We do that first because it came first from left to right, okay? And then we rewrite the rest of the problem. I did say you could use a calculator in this unit, but I do still want you to show work. So please still use the process of showing work, working down. Now we don't subtract, even though it's tempting. We divide next, so 20 divided by 2 is 10, and then we have 17 minus 10, which is 7. Please, if you could box your final answer, that will be helpful. Let's go ahead and look down here a little bit because there are more complex ones. For example, number 6, do you see those brackets? Remember that those brackets just mean the same thing as parentheses. But one thing I didn't mention is that you always do the innermost parentheses first. So right here, we do this first because it's in the inside. The most inside parentheses we do first. So negative 5 plus 1, you would do that first and get negative 4. Don't forget the sign. And then you rewrite the rest of the problem. Please do this so that you don't get lost, and especially with these more complex problems. Okay, and then we can go ahead and do what's inside the brackets. There's nothing to do here with this negative 4, so we just do negative 4 divided by 2, which would be negative 2. But then we have to keep the parentheses, or the brackets, to do negative 2 to the third. And then we can go ahead and do this absolute value. What's the absolute value of negative 7? Oh, it's absolutely positive, so it makes it 7. That does not change this sign right here, though. Okay, then we need to do exponents, because we're done with all the parentheses, and there's nothing to do here with these parentheses. You need to think negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, because the negative is in the parentheses. So negative 2 times negative 2, I start from left to right. That would be 4. And 4 times negative 2 would be negative 8. You don't have to write all of these steps, but if you want to, you can. Don't forget about this minus 7. We're going to continue over here. So now we have negative 8 minus 7. We do stay, change, change. And the answer, negative 15. Don't forget to box that final answer. You can check it on a calculator, but please show your work. The learning happens when you do it by hand. Okay, I'll do one more. This problem right here, anytime you have fractions, if you notice the last couple of these have fractions, you need to think of it like the top has parentheses and the bottom, or brackets, is what I did, because we already had parentheses. When you think of it that way, you can do the top all together, get an answer, do the bottom all together, get an answer, and then you divide. That's your last step. So here we go. We need to first do parentheses, or grouping symbols. So 2 plus 4 would be 6. And then remember, if it's right next to another number, it's multiply. And then I can also work on the bottom at the same time. So 2 times 3 would be 6 plus 1. When I continue this, keep the fraction complete, please. Otherwise, you're going to get confused when you get into algebra. So then we can continue up here. We can do the multiplication from left to right. So 36 still is minus 1. And we can go ahead and add, because that's the only thing left on the bottom. So now 36 minus 1 is 35. I can go ahead and do 35 divided by 7 and get my final answer is 5. Notice I do not have equal signs because these are all expressions. I would love for that to happen for you. Don't get confused. I just noticed number 7, that's a number 7, so don't think that's part of the problem. And please complete your assignment. Thank you.